Yeah,
right?
you like to talk to crackheads. It makes me nervous.
9 out of 10 crackheads drink water.
Ooh.
So you shouldn't drink water?
Not unless you want to smoke crack, baby. Yeah.
Ethos is the biggest fucking thing we care about, and it means jack shit.
I've never called the police in my life, other than the one time I called 911 when I was currently under the influence of GHB in the back of an Uber. But I don't remember that. And then they didn't even come, so fuck them.
For instance, when Jordan Peterson said that 15% of the population has an IQ of less than 85 statistically, you're like, holy fuck, that's a lot of dumb people.
Well, if you drink hot Cheetos flavored smoothies, I assume that you also don't wear shoes in the club, so.
Oh, I wanted to tell you this today. This is actually probably a good transition off the topic, but so I was watching ESPN this morning, and they're showing Marty, Kamaru Usman. They're showing his little background story, and they did a little feature on him and all that kind of stuff. And before they do it, it drives me nuts.
Uh-oh.
They said, with all the things going on with the George Floyd case right now, we wanted to warn you that a chokehold is going to be shown. They warned the audience that they were going to show a UFC fighter putting someone in a chokehold. How fucking soft are we getting?
What are we doing here? What are we doing
How
here?
fucking soft are we getting?
Is that how, like, bitch made we are as a culture? That you can't go on, you can't go on ESPN, a sporting network, and see combat sports, which are endorsed and sponsored by ESPN Plus themselves, and without warning people that you might see someone be put in a chokehold.
Yeah. That's. I was like, come on, man. I thought that was soft. I think that's soft.
I'm kind of like taken aback by that one. Like you can't handle seeing someone get choked just because, like, we're not denouncing police brutality or any of that, but you can't handle someone getting choked
in a sport,
in a sporting event,
in a sport
where there's doctors on hand and officials to regulate every moment and every aspect of this.
Yeah, like what, we're going to have our next police brutality be somebody gets, a German Shepherd sicked on them, and then they're going to be like, hey, before the dog show happens, we're just going to let you know that there's going to be a German Shepherd in this dog show.
Yeah, every time I pull up Westminster, they got to hit a fucking warning label. Like, warning.
That's all I'm saying, man. Like, it's getting soft. Like, really, really, really soft.
Let's talk about that. As a society, we are very, very bitch made. I like saying bitch made because we are. People get offended over everything. People report everything. People want to cancel you over the slightest. Like, no one gives anyone a chance for growth. No one gives anyone a chance to, like, change their opinion. No one even wants to hear other people's opinions. Like, it's kind of disheartening to me how much you can't even express things to people without them, like, just shutting down. Like, people don't even want to hear varying opinions anymore.
Like, I'll be honest with you. I thought for a second, like, I posted on Facebook that I was happy about the conviction, but I'm holding my breath, basically, that Chauvin is going to get actual time, right? Because
they haven't said how much the sentence is, right?
Right. We're known, like, our justice system is known for not giving white dudes enough time. Like, black dudes often get max, white dudes often get less.
Well, like your fucking Mr. Swim Team over there.
Yeah, the Stanford swimmer that got like a few months.
He got like 6 months for raping someone.
Like, and not just like girl drunk at a party. No, like behind the dumpster on campus.
Drug behind a dumpster.
Yeah, like
6 months, something like that.
Something stupid, right? Which, like I said, I had this argument before. It's like I am not upset by someone who rapes someone getting max time. I am upset about them getting too little time.
Facts.
Right? Like we know a guy who got sentenced to 7 years in Leavenworth for sexual assault, multiple counts. And you look at it and you're like, 7 years for multiple counts? That might be a little low.
Like, yeah, for sure.
Right? So, like I said, I don't look at this situation with the Chauvin thing, like, not only that, but they were reading off the verdicts, right? And for someone that just got convicted of 3 different counts that have a max of 40 years, you should be tripping a little.
Yeah, he seemed real unconcerned, didn't he?
Which makes me think that there's a plea deal that has already happened.
Well, here's the thing. This goes back into my fucking soapbox that I love to stand on. Police unions.
Yep.
I'm sure the police union has cut a plea deal somewhere, to where, like, he'll go fucking do foo-foo time here and then get transferred to this rehabilitation center. You know what I mean? It's going to be some bullshit like that.
Right. Which, like I said, that's why I'm not up in arms saying that this is a great day for the black community. And I'm also not over here doing what everyone else is doing too, which is like, this is not enough, which obviously we haven't solved the problem, of course. No. But what I mean by this is not enough is that we're not done yet. Like, there's no justice in this case. Like, the dude's dead, for one. 2, like, we have a large portion of the community that is also sitting here, like, saying, well, the fentanyl is what really killed him. I'm like, yeah, that's probably. Trash. I don't know, but maybe. But you still are...
all the doctors said the fentanyl didn't kill him, so it's like, how are we even having this argument?
Well, see, I don't read into the story enough. I just hear, like, what the righties are saying. But I've had to make this argument. I said, when you cuff somebody, you are now responsible for their health.
Well, let's be honest. You cuffed him. There's no need to do what you did.
Right. You're wrong.
You were in the wrong. You violated every aspect of your training. You guys had a known personal little vendetta going on. And you blatantly ignored the essential thing that this man needs to live and survive, which is air and breathing. You sat there and kneed on his neck for over 9 fucking minutes. Like, there's really no excuse here. It's pretty blatant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, it's one of those things that it's like, well, justice, no matter how much time he gets, it's not just.
No, because at the end of the day, George Floyd's dead because of you. And so it's really like, you'll never balance that out.
Right.
With his family, with the community, with anyone.
But he deserves to do a considerable amount of time. Anything less than 20 would be a slight, in my opinion.
That's 25 to life in my book, minimum.
Well, they didn't get him on first degree.
I don't care. I'm just being like, I'm ignoring the semantics of the judicial law book.
I'm okay with a max of 40, but like I said, anything less than 20, is a slight.
There's a friend of mine who got 25 because he stabbed someone in a fight in self-defense, and he got 25 years. And, like, you know what I mean?
I hear you. Yeah, we're getting into a crazy time to where I think A, we're getting soft, and B, we're placing a lot of faith in our justice system being able to solve these problems when our justice system has actually been the root problem.
Yes. You can't put your eggs in the basket with a hole in the bottom and expect you not to crack some eggs out here. This might be a good time.
You and I were talking about this when we were here. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Continue.
I was just saying that you and I were talking about this when you were here, that, like, police brutality isn't, you don't get to excuse it because that your local sheriff and he's a good guy and would never do that. Or my cousins, my cousin's a police officer and one of the best guys I know, and I don't think he's out here trying to murder black people or anything like that.
But you can't ignore the fact that it's still happening somewhere.
Right. Well, and I can't ignore the fact that I got, pulled out of my truck with Scott Osborne for playing my music loud in the middle of downtown Shreveport.
Yeah. Or
right?
that,
And then searched and everything else and treated like I might, do something wrong. But for basically something that could have just been a regular ass police stop.
Basically for nothing.
You know. And that's not police brutality. That would like Fuller getting maced.
Me and Fuller had that
the
altercation.
Shit beat out of him, right?
Outside the underground, maced multiple times, drug all around, did nothing but cooperate the whole time. It was tragic. They're threatening me. They broke my phone. They did all kinds of stuff. It was wild. You know what I mean?
Right. The truth is that there are areas that have cops that are pieces of shit.
Yeah. And we can't, that's the thing is, it all, in my mind, I heard someone say this the other day, I can't remember where, so I'm just going to regurgitate. Accountability is more the problem. People are going to be shitty at some point and in some facet, but when they are, there needs to be accountability.
Yeah, we've definitely lost sight of that. I mean, we hold criminals
overly accountable
for the most part, but we struggle with that side of the coin for some reason. Yeah,
but I think it comes down to accountability. And here's the other thing: is we can't overswing to outcry over things that aren't justifiable, such as the shooting in Columbus.
Right.
Have you seen that video?
I didn't watch it. I read about it briefly, paragraph.
I watched the body cam footage, and I'll give you my morons retake. Essentially, this girl, a 16-year-old girl, lives in a group home, and they're painting her out to be this tiny, cute little thing. My friend, she's as tall as me and twice as wide. Not to be mean, because she did lose her life, but, like, let's be honest, she is a very big woman. I don't care that she's 16. She's a very big woman. And here's basically the breakdown of the body cam footage. She calls the police because there's people outside having an altercation, yada, yada. Police show up, multiple police officers, not just the one with the thing. There's multiple officers on scene. Walks up, very calm, no gun out. Everyone's standing outside in the driveway. As he walks up, the girl who called the police and got shot and another man start assaulting a woman right in front of him, where the man actually, like, fucking field goal kicks her in the back of the head. The girl who called the police and got shot turns to another woman, presses her against a car, brandishes a big old fucking knife, and takes a slash stab at her neck and face, in which case the officer pulls up the gun, and as she's getting ready to do it again, bang, bang, gets her, and the altercation ends right there. And I'm like, how are we going to sit here and say that this white policeman murdered this black baby girl in her driveway when she called them to help, and ignore the fact that she openly assaulted a woman in front of him and then turned and attempted to stab another woman in the face and neck with a large knife? And, like, let's be honest, had that officer not intervened, that girl would probably be dead. So it's like, who do you really want to hold accountable in this one? Is it the cop for defending the life of the girl who's being assaulted? And also think of the girl on the ground who's getting her head stomped in by old boy because he was continuing to fucking kick her in the fucking dome piece. Like, do we ignore those two ladies' safety and well-being for this one just because the cop's white? Or, like, well, how are we playing? Like, how are we going to play this? Like, let someone tell me how we're supposed to play this.
It's, like I said, man, like, we're automatic now. Like, it's happening to where it's automatic. White cop shoots someone who's black, news story.
And I get it. Like, we should be sensitive when that happens to the scenario and be like, hey, what's going on? You know what I mean? But let's not dilute the situations that are justified with the outrage with ones that aren't. Like with George Floyd, and even like some of these other shootings, is like you're diluting those with this, because this is a justified police shooting. I'm sorry, it's unfortunate that someone lost their life, but it would also be unfortunate if she stabbed that girl to death. You know what I mean? Yeah,
like a lot of things are being called murder now that I don't necessarily know if they're murder. You feel me? Like that's kind of where I'm getting, is that there's a difference between murder and manslaughter and then doing the right thing, right?
Yeah.
They all have differences. Like it's starting to get like the catch rule in the NFL. Like what constitutes a catch? Did she make a football move or not? You know?
She made a move for sure.
So, like, I know it's kind of fucked up and it's kind of insensitive to talk that way about somebody who, you know, obviously just lost their life at a young age. But that being said, like, the Breonna Taylor case was kind of like that as well. Like, the Breonna Taylor case was, to me, it was like there was multiple levels to what was going on. The cops didn't walk up in her bedroom and then shoot her. Right. But my issue with that
so
whole
much
thing
wrong with that whole thing
is that they weren't supposed to be doing no-knock warrants.
They weren't supposed to be doing no-knock warrants. The cop that filled out the warrant falsified a lot of the information already because he had, I guess, some personal vendetta with her.
Right. So, like, I'm not saying that the cops weren't wrong, but the cops were in a firefight at some level. At some level, people were shooting at each other, and bad shit happens when people shoot at each other.
And here's the thing: is though, I don't like that.
But the cops were the wrong side of that.
I don't like where that argument goes because people are going to be like, well, that's why you should just submit to the police at all time. Like, the boyfriend firing back at the cops was 100% within his constitutional rights to do so.
Right, and I actually argued that with people. I was like, I said, so cops show up to your house, multiple assailants show up to your house, and you have a pistol. You get shot and your fucking girlfriend gets killed. Right?
Yeah.
Was the pistol sufficient to defending yourself against a government entity?
No.
No.
And it never will be.
It was a primary example of a person cannot defend his home against illegal actions presented by police. Which is what I saw in that case. Also, I saw that the cops did a lot of shit wrong and they deserved to get shot at. Right? But like it or not, I understand this idea that if you have multiple parties shooting at each other and you have people that aren't supposed to be there, well, that aren't involved in the firefight, are also going to get shot. They have a likelihood of getting shot.
I would just like to correct. I kind of pulled up some of it. I guess they didn't get her through the window. They shot her 6 times in the hallway.
So she was in the hallway?
Basically, in the ruckus of the police coming in, the boyfriend fired 1 time and hit an officer in the leg because he said they were beating at the door. No one said they're police.
Right.
They just kicked the door in. He fired. He shot him in the leg. And then there were 7 officers on the scene, and 3 of them fired 32 rounds throughout the apartment.
Yep.
So basically, they just sprayed the whole apartment from, like, the breakdown here. So they didn't get it through the window, so I wanted to correct that.
Right. Cops, wrong. No issues with that. Cops, super wrong.
Detective, very wrong.
Cops, super wrong. Boyfriend seems to be mostly right. Breonna Taylor, completely innocent.
Oh, man.
However,
even more wild.
People getting shot. People shooting at each other. Usually the people, if you have multiple people with guns, they win.
Oh, yeah. Like,
First of all.
That's called fire supremacy. We know that.
Right. So, I hate to say it, but I looked at the Breonna Taylor cases. A normal person can't defend themselves against the police just beating down their door and doing whatever the hell they want with a pistol. And B, Breonna Taylor, an innocent woman, died because the cops did the wrong thing and they deserve to be punished for it.
Well, I think that was the outcry, though, is that they weren't being punished for it for a long time.
Which is what I asked for, right? I was on board with that, right? Like, we're all on board. Same with the George Floyd case. It's like,
motherfucker need to go to jail.
George Floyd didn't need to have someone sitting on his neck for 9 minutes. George Floyd also was in the process of getting arrested.
Yeah, but I had this argument a bunch of times. Is like, just because you're getting arrested doesn't mean it's a death sentence.
It's not, and it never should be. And that makes the cops wrong, which is why we have the rules in place. and why he's been convicted of murder is because he did the wrong thing.
And
However,
I think that's where a lot of the outcry comes, though, is most of the time they're not held accountable.
Right, and like we've said that. We've said that, like, at the beginning of this, I said, I'm not holding my breath because
we don't
I'm
know
not
what the
confident
sentence
that he's
is about
only
to be.
going to get 7 fucking years or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? When the dude deserves
legit.
to probably do about, I would say, if I was a judge, I'd probably say he deserves to do about 30. 30? Like, I don't know how old he is. He looks like he's like 40-something, maybe 50.
Yeah, he
like,
don't look like he's in the greatest health either.
I think if he ends up getting out at 80 years old and, like, you know,
hopefully be
is all right.
rehabilitated.
Yeah. Like, I also have a problem with our prison system not being really, like, to help people get the fuck out. It's more like, this is your life
cycling.
now.
You kind of cycle them back in. Like, you don't rehabilitate anyone in prison. You kind of make them worse.
Not only that, but you keep record of them and then watch them around your town, and the cops act like assholes, and then write you up for citations and ruin your probation for no reason.
Yeah.
Right. It happens sometimes.
If you're concerned about like probation in America, that Meek Mill documentary on Amazon Prime it's good. It's a good entertaining watch, and it's pretty eye opening.
Right. Yeah.
Talking about a judge having a personal vendetta against someone.
I just want to make it known that these major cases that have happened have been both unfortunate and wrong on the police officers.
Exactly. But that's also why I don't think this Columbus shooting, we can't treat it the same, because it's not the same.
None of them are, though.
No, I mean, but even in the sense of, like, this wasn't a sweet young girl unarmed, because how many times I've seen articles saying unarmed, unarmed, unarmed. She was brandishing a very large knife, making an attempt at another woman's life. Like, that's not the same. I'm just saying, like, because
she could have a fucking ballpoint pen. I've seen Jason Bourne.
But my thought is like, you know what I mean? You're actively attempting, and what it appears to everyone there and everyone involved, to take her life with a knife. Like, why else do you slash at someone's neck and face?
Yeah, well, I mean, what did they teach you when you were in? Was it they had to have intent, and opportunity, and then action, right?
Yeah,
you need those 3 things.
That's all.
They have to be like, I want to fuck them up. I can fuck them up, and I'm going to fuck them up. Boom.
And that's all 3. It's all 3. I see people saying things like, "We should have pulled a taser." Like, stop it. Let's not nitpick micro actions in a very hostile moment.
Oh,
because that's a split second decision.
Old girl that accidentally pulled the gun instead of the taser, like, we'll see what happens to her, but she fucked up. Accountability.
Yeah. Accountability. That's that's manslaughter in my book.
Not only that, but a lot of people, they like to do this with the police. They say the police have a really hard job. I'm like, and that deserves leniency?
That's cool. People have hard jobs. That doesn't mean they get away with fucking them up.
Yeah. So being an architect is a hard job, but you build the building crooked, and you don't think that they should have to pay up or do whatever it takes to offset that?
Being a tree trimmer is a very hard job, and you don't think that they're held accountable if they drop a tree on your fucking house?
Right. Like, you're held to a higher standard. Yeah, like, so the tree trimmer. Like, tree trimmer cuts the tree and it falls in your house, and he's like, oh, I have a really hard job. And it's like, yeah, that's why I hired you to do it, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was easy and I could do it without the tree falling on my house, then I would have done it. Same with the police. It's like, yeah, I need you to come here and handle the situation appropriately. If I could do it and it was easy, I would have done that shit myself.
Exactly.
Like, well, that's why you are here, motherfucker. Serve and protect.
I seen Kalani was like, they killed an innocent, sweet little girl. Abolish the police. I'm like, do you realize what would happen if you abolish the police? I'm going to be fine. I've never called the police in my life, other than the one time I called 911 when I was currently under the influence of GHB in the back of an Uber. But I don't remember that. And then they didn't even come, so fuck them. But I've never actively called the cops in my life. I'll be fine if there's no police, because I'm capable of handling things in my own right, my own mind. Now, if we start getting like gang mob factions, that's a different story. But a lot of these people that are like abolish the police, get rid of the police, y'all need the police. Y'all are victims walking around, and you don't like. You need to be more self-aware of what you're saying.
Only that, I just like I said, I can't stand that argument. Well, it's a hard job. Well, they're operating under split-second decisions. Like, yeah, that's why they get paid to do that, dog.
That's why you train and you train and you train. And why isn't training coming up? Like, train. You train the fear out. You train the split-second hesitation out. You train and drill until you do what you're supposed to do. Why is it that the military can do it and be held accountable when they don't, but the police can't?
Facts.
I was a weather forecaster, and I would have, if I did anything like that, I would be held accountable. Make the police officer be held accountable.
If you're in high school, right, you play second base.
Mm-hmm.
It's bases loaded in the bottom of the 10th inning. Right? You're up by 2 runs. You're up by 2 runs, bases loaded in the bottom of the 10th. An old boy hits it to you, and you do an error. You commit an error, right? You drop the ball. You can't get the handle on it. Right? And you tell the coach, well, playing second base is hard.
He's probably, knowing Kevin Yoder and anyone that's on my baseball team will test this, he might have punched me right by nose.
Well,
no cap. That man might have hit
I wanted
me.
to segue because that's what happened last night as the A's got their 11th game in a row. 11 in a row.
Oh, they won it on an E?
0 hits in the 10th inning, down by 2 runs. 0 hits in the 10th. None. Not a single base hit.
How'd they get the bases loaded? All walks and errors?
Chapman starts on second. Next guy, well, they got 2 outs. Third out there, walked. Next guy comes out there, walked. Next guy comes out there, hits it to second. Second bobbles the ball, gets nobody out. Run scores. Right? Next guy up, hits a shot to third. Third baseman that they pulled out. They pulled out the third baseman to have someone pinch hit for him.
Mm-hmm.
They pulled the third baseman for it. The new third baseman, the backup, skies it over the first baseman's head. 2-run score. 13-12. A's win 11 in a row.
Dang, you hate to see it.
I hate to see it. Can't stand watching my A's win like that. Oh no.
Hate to see it. That's wild.
Yeah. To win in the 10th inning without a hit.
Hey man, playing second base is hard.
Yeah, it's real hard. I'm sure coach is just gonna let that slide.
I'm hoping the statistician didn't give him an error because playing second base is hard. So let's not give him that error.
Yeah, let's just give him the Gold Glove because he participated.
He tried.
It's hard.
It's a hard job.
I'm going to start using that for everything. Well, he had to make a split-second decision, and it's really hard.
Sir, your dog just bit my dog. It's hard being a dog, and he had to make a split-second decision.
He could have growled or he could have bit. He chose to bite. Sorry.
I'm sorry Bobby is no longer with us, but, being Bodie's hard.
Yeah, it's... Like I said, I'm empathetic of the idea that it's difficult to be a police officer, which is why I think they deserve to be paid more, and it should be harder to be one.
Yeah, can we all take a moment to realize how American culture actually functions? It's about incentives. You incentivize people. Cops don't make shit money, so shit people are going to be cops. Whether they're shitty people like as a person or just shitty at what they do. You're inviting both parties.
It's really difficult. Like I said, it's a hard job to get paid $60,000 a year for.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like the area too. Like, what area do you work? Do you work small town suburbia? Excuse me. Or do you work downtown fucking Shreveport?
Right, and then
because you're probably gonna, after some years, that's gonna wear on you different.
Then that's like the same idea with the military, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it's for the amount that you get paid, it's not an easy job.
No,
especially for some of these dudes that do really crazy shit.
Yeah, and what do we
Right.
do with those guys? Do we incentivize them with additional pay?
Yep. Well, but that's weird. It's almost the same idea that it works with police officers, that there is an honor game that's being played as well.
Yeah.
That you do get this sense of pride, right? Because you are serving, right? And people forget about that. And they think that money is like the main way that you're rewarded in life, right? And you do get a lot of emotional reward from serving and doing the right thing and from helping people. Now, the hard part is that I know this from being in the military, that I had a great feeling of servitude when I first joined. Like, I felt like I was doing this great thing, and I felt so much joy from that process. And then it got really fucking annoying to be in the military.
Yeah.
And then I didn't feel that anymore. Right? And then I didn't take that much pride in it, and my performance did in fact go down. So I honestly think that has to be a similar, at least for some people, a similar type of action that occurs for police officers, that eventually it gets really fucking annoying to be a cop. It's got to.
I mean, yeah, it can't be fun. Like,
To work crazy hours, deal with people who are fucking up, sit in a car all day, right? First of all, you couldn't pay me to sit in a Dodge Challenger for 12 hours a day. I'm sorry.
Well, I think this is a factor too we don't like take into account in these moments as much, is they're kind of forced into creating issues. Like, they have quotas that they have to meet every month, or like their annual review comes up and you didn't have enough arrests. Like, you're almost telling these police officers that they have to go intervene and create tension where it doesn't need to be had, or scenario or
You know what it reminds me of?
conflicts that don't need to be taken part in.
This will relate to some of our listeners. You know what that reminds me of? The QA log.
Oh, fucking hate the QA log.
Remember? There's too many no errors noted put in the QA log. You guys better find some errors.
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing. Like, if you're telling a cop that like citizens are being too good, you better go make them be bad so you can arrest them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, okay, the citizens they're going 10 over on all the roads. It's not too bad. We haven't really had many accidents. It's been pretty good. It's been a good summer, right?
Start picking them up.
Nice
at 3
weather.
over.
No reason to really get anybody on this. Ding anybody for going 10 over. Oh, end of the month. Let's go ahead and cap on people going 10 over.
Or even me.
Like,
I got like my only ticket in like the last however many fucking years for going 3 over.
Yep.
And he told me I wouldn't give you a ticket, but it's the end of the month. And I was like, the fuck, bro?
Right. We also have an issue with inconsistency in the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, we actually talk about, it's funny because I've said this for a while, sports line up so much, right?
Well, aren't sports just reflections of like our societal lives?
In a lot of ways, yeah. So like basketball, right? So James Harden gets a bunch of fouls in the regular season, but he doesn't get them in the playoffs.
Nope.
Well, that seems like inconsistency to me.
Oh, yeah.
And we often get irritated by that. Like, oh, what, he shouldn't get these fouls. We want refs, personally, and this is the other side of the argument, is I would prefer that referee like it's the playoffs throughout the regular season.
Yeah, how about you just make that the way we referee the game? Period.
Right. Let's let more fouls go and let it be more chippy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm okay with that.
Or call them both. My biggest thing is like, if you're going to call them chippy at this end, you better call them chippy at that end. You know what I mean? Don't let Steph Curry slap forearms, and then if you breathe on him, call fouls.
Right.
If we're slapping forearms, that's what we're doing. Both sides.
Same
thing with like police is like if you're gonna go to, I'm gonna take a step back from race, because I think police brutality and race is a big thing, but I think it's poverty is also a factor that we don't ignore. Because how many times have you heard the argument, people be like, well, more white people get unjustly shot by the police? I was like, one, per capita there's a lot more fucking white people, so like, you know what I mean, that's the gross number, yeah, is probably going to be larger, but is the per capita number actually larger? So I don't know that answer. But a lot of times it's in poor areas with a lot of crime. You know what I mean?
Right.
But no one talks about that.
So my grandpa had a funny analogy that the cop gave him. Right. My grandfather, a long time ago, he tells this story. He got pulled over, right, and he was going the same speed as everybody else. Right. He wasn't going any faster, but he's the one that got pulled over. And when he told the cop, he's like, "Why are you pulling me over? Everyone else is going fast." Right. And he asked my grandpa, he said, "Do you go fishing?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "When you go fishing, do you catch all the fish?" And that was his answer. That, yeah, he got him. He doesn't catch all the fish when he goes fishing. And I thought about that.
Okay.
And when it comes to people living in poorer areas, well, another analogy building on that, when you go fishing, do you go where the fish aren't biting? Or do you go where the fish can bite?
I get that point, but I don't see what that has to do with...
Poor, low-income areas typically have more crime.
Oh, no, I got that part. I'm not retarded. I got that part.
I get that. But a lot of
I don't
people
see what that
think
has
it's
to...
unfair.
I don't see what that has to do with the cops acting out of pocket, though, in those areas.
No, it doesn't have to do with that, right? Your behavior should be the same whether you're in a nice neighborhood or in a bad neighborhood. But at the same time, I can excuse alertness. Like, it's really hard. If you know that you have a higher chance of being fucked up, you're going to act like you have a higher chance of being fucked up.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We're supposed to hold these police officers at a higher standard, right? And we're supposed to give them this ability to operate in our society and trust them that they're going to handle their shit appropriately. So once again, just because you work a bad district doesn't give you an excuse to violate protocol and violate rights.
It's about behavior.
But that's a big argument that you see from a lot of people defending police is like they work bad areas. It's like that doesn't mean you get to fucking violate people's rights, Karen. You know what I mean?
It's about behavior, right? So I've told people this, that, for instance,
if you want to work a bad district, maybe you pay them more.
Like you said, let's eliminate race from this equation, right? That if I see a dude that's, let's say I go to a bar, and there's a guy at the bar, and he outweighs me by 100 pounds, and he has face tattoos, right? I don't know him from anybody. I don't know him from Adam. Right? He could be the nicest fucking guy in the world.
You're gonna
could be super stable, could be nothing, right? But internally, he poses a threat, right? He's not actually threatening me. He's not doing anything, right? But
you've just been conditioned throughout life to see him as a threat. So internally, you're going to perceive him as a threat.
Right, but everyone you gauge people. Like it or not, you gauge everyone that you see.
I know. My point with that is if that guy was my uncle and I grew up around people that were tatted and of his demeanor, I wouldn't think anything of it. But you might because you didn't grow up that way. You've grown up to think tatted, like just you even picking him for this scenario shows that you have a predisposition to find people like that off-putting. You know what I mean? If you grew up as a child of a biker gang and you see a dude that looks like that, you might not even read like that's not a bad guy, that's a Tony. Even if you don't know him.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but that's also like my point that it is still appropriate.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, it's at least normal.
Why normal I'll give you, but appropriate I would ask why is that appropriate?
Because it's inherent as a defense mechanism that you should be utilizing throughout your life.
You should utilize situational awareness. I agree with that, but I don't know why it's appropriate to think because he's tatted up that he's a threat. My point is that's just
an increased threat.
Why?
Because he's tatted?
That's why?
No, because he it's not because he's tatted. It's because tattoos are often a representation of toughness within our society. And you see it with a lot of people. They're usually not known for being... If you're heavily tatted, you're not normally known as
abiding by cultural norms.
Right. They're not within your circle, and you don't know how to judge it as effectively, and they're often crowds that you wouldn't be around. Right? So
no, but you're using you in a very like internal way, right?
Right.
Because I come from people that are heavily tatted. These are crowds I would usually be around.
Right, and you also know
my father
that
and stepmother are heavily tatted.
But your crowd that you also have been a part of, you've also been a part of people who have done a lot of bad shit.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that just because
they're
if you
going
see
to
one
do it to you.
Exactly.
Right, which is what I've said that
Ted Bundy was a beautiful man with no tattoos.
Right. Just like, so I look at a dog, right? A German Shepherd has big fucking teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Should I think that, in my head, should I think that the German Shepherd can't bite the shit out of me?
No, but
should I acknowledge that the German Shepherd could bite? I know where you're going. You don't even have to say.
Should you just assume that he's going to bite everyone all the time?
No, and you also don't beat the dog shit out of him immediately to just impose your will, right?
Yeah,
you don't automatically fucking kick the dog as soon as it comes up to you.
Exactly.
Right? So you can, what I'm saying is that your prejudges, right? Your prejudices that exist, right? Because they're appropriate, right? We're inherently visual creatures.
Yeah,
right?
But my only point is that our prejudice we have is based off the environment and the way we were raised.
It's all the environment that you're raised is always going to be that.
That's my point.
It's called.
That's my point. Is I'm just separating
the.
I'm separating the fact that just because someone looks like A, B, or C doesn't mean they are, because everyone's perception of those different individuals is going to be different. Like I'll look at someone who's heavily tatted and I don't go, that's the guy I have to watch out for necessarily. You know what I mean?
But I do this as a guy who's 145 pounds. I do this with people who, pretty much anybody who weighs 200 pounds plus, they're not threatening, but they pose a physical threat.
And I get that. Like, I'm cool with situational awareness. I'm a man that walks in every room, and I have situational awareness on everybody. I won't even sit at a restaurant if my back faces the fucking door. It makes me uncomfortable. But my thought is, I'm not cool, or I'm not on board with the thought of like justifying your prejudices. You can have them, and that's fine because they're product of your being raised. But I don't like the idea of saying like, because someone's tatted, everyone should be concerned about him.
No, you have to recognize that you have these prejudices because of the environment that you're in. Because the environment that you've been raised in, because your sample sizes are these. That
I get that. I just don't like the projection.
You don't behave.
What do you mean?
There's a difference between what you think, what you perceive as a threat, and then what you do about it.
I get that, but my point is I don't like the projection that what you perceive as a threat is what everyone perceives as a threat.
What I'm saying is that everyone has perceived threats.
Okay.
That are inaccurate.
All right.
Continue. That just because I perceive somebody that, like, for instance, your example that if you were raised around nothing but tatted people and your whole family was tatted, that you wouldn't see somebody who has tattoos as a threat. There is a possibility, however, that you would see people who don't have tattoos as a threat.
Well, I see more people like the dude, like to me, someone who I look at and I'm sketched out about is the dude with the fucking flannel on tucked into his shoots with the shit kicker boots and the fucking Confederate flag hat. Like that dude makes me nervous.
Right. And you have validation for your prejudice within your own head, but you don't actually know whether it's true or not, and therefore you operate under your prejudice, but don't express it with behavior.
I'm not going to use my prejudice as an excuse or a justification That's
yeah,
my
like
point
to
too.
be jumpy and randomly like fucking hit him with your car or some shit and be like, oh, he scared me.
As like bringing it back to being a cop, I can't use my prejudice as a justification to detain someone, but that happens a lot.
Facts.
That happens every day.
I 100% agree with what you're saying. That's why I'm breaking it up in between what you think and then what you do.
Okay. I'll let you finish.
You know what I mean? Like you have to operate under the pretenses that you have thoughts, and those thoughts are real, right? But you have to be conscious of their accuracy. And this is what we miss out on a lot in life, is that how accurate, like for instance, people in my hometown, a lot of white people think that Hispanic people are ruining the neighborhood. Are they really ruining the neighborhood? You know what I mean? You don't, just because that one guy down the road walks his pit bull and dresses like way different than like you would like him to dress, is he actually ruining the neighborhood, Nancy?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's like who are you to decide the societal factors for everybody?
Right. It's inaccuracies. Like I said with a pit bull, right? Pit bull has a big ass head, big old fucking teeth, presents a threat. Like I look at a pit bull the same way I look at a dude who's 200 pounds. I'm like, he could fuck me up. Dog could fuck me up. Right?
Right.
So I'm probably not about to be like, what's up, motherfucker, to the pit bull, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he might go, I'm going to bite the shit out of you, right? And I'm probably not about to be like, what's up, you big bitch, to the fucking giant dude, because he might just be like, oh, really? Like,
okay.
Like it or not, I have to understand what my prejudice, right? What my judgments are doing, and how I operate with those. And what we have a problem with is people see black person and they're like, black person equals threatening, and it's like, well, that's a really inaccurate stereotype.
Very.
That's super inaccurate.
Or they assume black person equals crime.
Even just as much as an inaccurate statement, right? Like, the problem that we have is that we've used color to signify a group of people as a threat, right? And that's where it goes south, right? Now, if I'm in Oakland, California, and I see someone wearing baggy fucking clothes and walking around talking to himself, I'm going to be a little bit like, oh, I don't know about that, right? And you know as well as I know that I'm prone to being like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Right?
You like to talk to crackheads. It makes me nervous.
Right. So my prejudice says, in that instance, says, oh, try to be nice so that he don't fuck you up. And you're just like, don't fucking talk to him.
Like, that dude's talking to himself. Let's just leave him to himself.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we have different behaviors based off of our judgments, and we need to acknowledge that we have varying levels of accuracy. Like, I talked with my dad about this, and I said, if you're a white dude and you go to an island populated by a tribe, right? And they're all dark-complected people, right?
Yeah.
How would you expect those people to act towards you?
Oh, yeah. They've never had exposure?
They'd be like, who the fuck is this white? Why is he so white? Right? They'd probably be curious. Like dolphins seeing bubbles in the water, right? They're like, well, that's not where bubbles usually occur. That's fucking weird. Why are these bubbles shaped in rings, right? It's why is this dude so white?
Yeah.
Is this a good sign or is this a bad sign? Right? And there's a chance that they talk among themselves and they're like, this could be fucking terrible. Fuck him up. Get rid of his ass. Or they could be like, we're curious, let's investigate. Which is actually really likely, is that unless they've developed this idea that a white person coming to their tribe, like through legend or something, is going to do something terrible, right?
There's a good example of that island with the indigenous people haven't been touched except for like this one British like missionary group, and they like fucking treated them like shit. So now every time like outsiders come, they just shoot at them with arrows because like, oh hell no, we ain't doing that again.
Right. And that's why I was telling my dad, I was like, so if that white dude comes in there and he murders the first dude he sees, right? They're like, hey, what's up, man? nice to meet you, I'm Greg, right? And he's like, oh, fuck you, Greg, boom, right? All the fucking rest of the tribe is all gonna fucking be like, fuck these white dudes. These white dudes kill everybody. You could be Mother Teresa.
Bro, they shot
right?
Greg.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, prejudices happen no matter what you do, but you have to be able to gauge their accuracy, and then you have to be able to accurately utilize your behavior. You have to be appropriate, right? And this is why we create social norms, and this is why our society dictates how we do things, and this is why we're bringing awareness to the fact that all black people aren't criminals and deserve to be shot by police, because we have a large group of idiots out there that are like, they're all criminals and they deserve it, right? And you're like, what the fuck is your problem? Like, what sample size did you have to make that your first thought? You know what I mean? I have a problem with that's my biggest problem with the whole race thing, is that there's legitimately people out there that think that, like, George Floyd deserved it.
I know, that's so wild.
And those are the fucking dudes that are fucked.
And that's a lot of, like, that's a lot of people, though. There's, like, at least it seems as such.
Right. And, like, you'll be baffled. Like, the more you dig into, the, like, society and, like, how society works, and, like, the percentages of people, like, for instance, when Jordan Peterson said that 15% of the population has an IQ of less than 85 statistically, you're like, holy fuck, that's a lot of dumb people.
There's a lot of dummies out there.
Dude, that's a ton. 15%?
Yeah. Dang.
Like, that's scary, right?
That's kind of like, when you think of it like that, it's a little wild.
Like, that, to me, I'm like, man, like, I often judge people as they're all roughly as smart as I am, right? I feel like I'm of normal intelligence. I'm actually a little bit insecure about my intelligence. So, right, so I operate under the idea that a lot of people probably think I'm stupid. So, like, it's hard for me, like, when somebody says that, I'm like, holy shit, 15% of the population is, like, incapable of, like, performing simple tasks? Like,
it's a little wild.
And obviously, I don't want to be insensitive to that 15% of people. Like, oh, there's a large group of those people that are disabled, which is fucked up to be like, you guys are dumb. But it's like, I mean, cognitive intelligence, they're not there, right?
Yeah, we're being objective about just intelligence rates, period.
Right. Like, janitor is a lofty goal for somebody of Forrest Gump status, which is why that movie's great, because Forrest Gump had an IQ of 75, so it's kind of funny that he became like everything. But you get what I'm saying. Yeah,
and kind of this comes back. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I was gonna say, this comes back to, like, a point I know I've made before, and I'll make it again. Open-mindedness in our culture, in our society, in America. People are not very open-minded to others. Like, we don't want to take perspective of someone else, and I feel like, yeah, we all have our prejudices. We've all raised different. We all have different exposures. But I feel like there's something to be had if we could just, in these moments, take a second and then put ourselves in the other person's position and, like, try to garnish their perspective and see, like, what's actually going on here.
You know what I'm
not talking about, like, split decision.
The reason why we have a big problem with that?
Why?
I think because we've become super reliant on, this is, a lot of people hate that I use the rhetorical claims, but I read Rhetoric by Aristotle, so I thought this was great.
Okay.
Fucking ethos, man. Ethos is the biggest fucking thing we care about, and it means jack shit. It means nothing. It means nothing. It improves accuracy, right? So if a doctor tells you that you're fucking sick, like, he has a better chance of being right about you being fucking sick than I do. But if there's a chance that you're like, hey, my asshole hurts. I'm like, hey, you might have hemorrhoids. And you're like, well, you're not a fucking doctor. What do you know? Right? And then you go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, you have hemorrhoids, right? Was I wrong? No. And that's the same thing that we have going on, I think, in a lot of ways, is that we have huge rely on ethos. So, like, LeBron's like, hey, we have a problem with racial injustice. And we're like, shut up and dribble, you piece of shit. You're
just because he's a basketball player.
He could still be right.
He could still have a good opinion.
Right? They're like, why are these celebrities talking about all this shit? We're like, well, maybe because they don't fucking spend all day working at Mickey D's and they're not all stressed out. They have time to sit at home and contemplate the problems of the world. Maybe they have an enhanced perspective.
Or, maybe you're right. Maybe, like, oh boy, like, when they did the black and white video, it's like, I will not stand for this. It's like, y'all are way fucking off. Like, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes y'all miss, too, just like everybody else. But you can't, that's the thing, is, like, we got to be open-minded when other people say stuff. And we never are. Because it's like, just since we're doing the police thing, it's like, I see people dig so hard into, like, confirmation bias. Like, they only want to intake things that confirm the point that they've already, like, came to their opinion. Right. No one, and if you give them something, whether it be an empirical fact or like a good logical point or whatever it may be, they still just walk past it and they don't even accept it. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't confirm what they wanted it to.
Right. Like back in the day, 9 out of 10 doctors smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean smoking is good for you.
Smoking is good. Well, 9 out of 10 crackheads drink water. Ooh. So you shouldn't drink water?
Not unless you want to smoke crack, baby.
We do this shit, and it's like become the norm for, I think, people to look at what, like, the experts say and look to the experts for everything. And it's like, well, expert can still be wrong.
Or right? Experts can also have bad intentions, and we can't ignore that either.
Yeah, which is the other side of this coin, that, like, we have a large population of people that are also deliberately fucking lying to you.
Yeah, and
because
we have
15% of y'all are fucking have an IQ of less than 85, so you're really easy to motivate.
Well, even more than that, most of y'all are easy to fucking lie to because no one actually checks up on anything.
Right, and
people get mad at me. I feel like you probably share the same issue that I do. People get mad when I look things up. Like, I'll Google it. Like, why are you Googling that? I was like, well, clearly I needed to because you're fucking wrong. You know what I mean?
Right. It's like the rumor mill isn't fucking good, man.
No, just because you read it on Facebook doesn't mean it's fucking real, Grandma.
Right.
All right.
Right.
And Pelosi was set up. It was a setup. I was like, that doesn't mean she didn't still go there.
Yeah. It drives me nuts. This was a different podcast. I hope you guys like the show. This is interesting for us. I know that we get controversial at times, that I basically argued that Prejudice was normal and okay, which is not easy for me to do because I know the evils of Prejudice, and the bad side of Prejudice is fucking bad. So
we can't pretend like we don't all walk around with prejudices.
Yeah, you can't pretend that, like, if you see somebody that dips their French fries in their Frosty from Wendy's, makes you think that there might be a fucking serial killer. I called y'all out just now. I'm judging y'all. If you do that, I don't fucking trust you.
Well, if you drink hot Cheetos flavored smoothies, I assume that you also don't wear shoes in the club, so. So there's that.
So let's wrap this up. We're over fucking 2 hours, which is longer than we have been. So this is interesting, and we really didn't stop talking. So that's also good.
Yup.
Well, I hope you guys watch the fights this weekend, and I need to set you up with B-Rad TV.
I need that eventually. Shit in my life.
Left hooks are free, right hooks are always half off. Fuck you. Fuck your mother.